Mishkafayim. Okay, so Derech Mitzvosecha, Korban Pesach, Shikoich. Page Ein Tet. We're on Ein Tet, I think, already. No, not yet. Not yet. We're almost there. Okay, 156 then. So we said that the Keter, here we're talking about Arich Anpin, the long countenance, has an inside and an outside. He called it the Pnimiyut HaRatzon and the Chitzoniyut HaRatzon. And we said that Pnimius HaRatzon means the inner, the soul of the will is when the pleasure is enclosed within. And again, the Kabbalistic structure here is very complex, but it doesn't matter. The point is, in Chassidus, we just say that there's chefetz. Atem tiyuli eretz chefetz. Eretz chefetz is ratzon chefetz, because eretz comes from the word earth, comes from the word ratzon, will. And so atem tiyuli eretz chefetz, it means that was what the Baal Shem Tov used to say. It's quoted in the Yom Yom. The Baal Shem Tov said that every Jew is full of treasures. Atem tiyuli eretz chefetz. You'll be a land of treasures for me. So it means, what does it mean? It means that every Jew, even though in the time of the Baal Shem Tov, 300 years ago, everything was chitzoniyut haratzon, everything was the outside, the exterior will, because people were just doing by inertia what their parents had done. He said that every Jew is full of treasures, and treasures is the pleasure that can be had, the soul of the will, and that is a completely different state. It's a state of doing things out of connecting to God. So let's give a little gematria that I saw yesterday. That the milui, meaning the filling of ratzon, reish tzadik vav nun, but I write them out. Reish yud shin, tzadik daled yud kuf, and vav is vav vav, and nun is nun vav nun. So that everything together is equal to 832.
That's called what in Gemara?
Milui, to fill. So that's equal to 832, and that's the gematria of Eretz Yisrael. Yeah. Wow. It's Lev Pa'amim Avaya. It's 32 times Hashem's name. Because this is where, that's what it means, that Eretz, the land is Eretz Yisrael. It's the milui of Hashem's ratzon. It's the filling of Hashem's will. But Chefetz, if I do Chefetz, the milui, Chet Yud Taf, Pei Aleph, and Tzadik, Tzadik Daled Yud Kuf, it's equal to 702.
Which is? Shabbos.
Shabbos is when the will that we had during the days of the week is filled with pleasure. That's why Shabbat is Ta'anug. It's not just Ta'anug, it's Ta'anug that goes into all the will that we had, except for Chassidus. And the third meal, it's not connected to what we did. It's a new will altogether that we receive. It's called Rava de Ravin. It's a will that gives birth to all the will that will be the next week.
Is that why Chabad usually doesn't? Is that part of it?
It can, because what kind of tanug do you want? What kind of pleasure do you want? So it's not because of that. It's because the Zohar says that the third time that it said Hayom by the man, it said Hayom lo timtzeu basadeh. Today you won't find it in the. But that's just a siman. It's just an asmachta. But really, what it means is that where do you get the pleasure from? It should be a pleasure that's not connected to what you prepared already. It's preparing for the future. So I usually say, if somebody comes to me and asks, should I do this business deal or that? Tell them, don't sleep on it, but do a Shabbos on it. If you come out on the other side of Shabbos that you still want to do it, so maybe it's more concrete.
You think all Shabbos about the business?
What?
Did you think all Shabbos about
No, it doesn't think about it. It's just to see if Motzei Shabbos you still want to do it, so maybe your new will is also on board. Because now it could be that it's part of the... Okay. Anyway.
Where do you see this, by the way, these gematrias?
There's only one person who does these gematrias. Rav Yitzchak.
Was it him?
Yeah.
Rebbe's father?
Tov also. Yeah, but not usually. Okay, but he didn't do Ratzon equals Eretz Yisrael.
That's Rav Ginsburg.
Yeah. So the whole Eretz Yisrael thing is very much the Rav Yitzchak, and it's very much connected to a different stream of thought. But in any case, so So we said that there's desire also. We call desire the chefetz. That's how we translated chefetz. The desire is when the pleasure is inserted into the will. אבל דבר שאינו מתענג בו ואיננו תכלית, so it's right, that's the line. So we did all that. Let's skip to where we were. Okay. Now, what does he say? That Paro, where is he? The klipa. Where is the klipa now? The klipa is in the orif, is in the nape, is in the neck. So until now, we've been skirting the issue because he didn't say anything. So I said, if he didn't say anything, why should I say something? But it's a little bit misleading if I don't say anything. So you can get the impression here that the klipa is. This is the way that people read the Bible, right? They read the Bible, they read the Torah, that there's the good guys and the bad guys. Okay? Pharaoh is the bad guy, and Am Yisrael are the good guys. The Jewish people are the good guys.
Okay.
And so, when they were living through it, for sure that's how they saw it. There's no question. Because every person thinks he's a good guy and everybody else is the bad guy. But the Torah doesn't judge things. It's very uncommon for the Torah to tell us that someone is evil. In fact, it doesn't happen really. Chazal do. The sages tell us someone is evil. They judge. The Torah doesn't judge. Why doesn't the Torah judge? Because the Torah, its business isn't to tell you what the judgment is. Its business is to tell you, you have to be the judge. You have to think about things yourself. And that's why we start the Seder with questions. We say, if you can't question things, what kind of a human being are you? A human being has questions. You have to figure out what the truth here is. Yeah, that's how it works. And if you can't ask questions, you can't go deep. You'll remain very, very on the surface. So it's very easy for someone to come and tell me, oh, he's the good guy and he's the bad guy, and that way I live, and you live a narrative. And then what do you see? So we tend to look at the media in the world, and we see all these non-Jews who have bought into the Palestinian narrative, and we look at them and say, well, you don't understand that it's exactly the opposite. So when you're living through it, so hopefully people can tell the difference, but they're not asking questions. That's why they're buying this narrative, because somebody's just telling them it's like this. It's like this. It's really terrible. The whole point is to be able to ask a question. So there's two reasons why you would ask a question. One is, when you're living through it, you don't have to ask questions, you have to live through it. But when you're distant from it, either through time or through space, then you have to ask questions to understand what's going on here. So these people, they don't ask questions. They're removed in distance. We believe that if they were here, they would understand 100% why we say what we say, that they're the bad guys and we're the good guys. But when you're removed, you have to ask questions. Otherwise, you're just falling for something. You should ask questions about minor also, because you're removed. You're not here.
But the narrative is in the present, and interestingly, it does not comment.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's been 3,500 years since Egypt, and Torah does this to even things that were much much closer to us, but all the more so something that was 3,500 years ago. So from the Torah's point of view, there's no good guys and bad guys. There's no such thing. And I'm not just talking about the Torah now, Torah Shebechtav, the written Torah. I'm also talking about the way that Kabbalah interprets it, the way that Chassidus sees it. So Chassidus doesn't say, Paro's the bad guy. Because if you say that Paro's the bad guy, what do I care? I'm not dealing with Paro. Paro's dead. He's been feeding the fishes for who knows how long. It's no relevance to me. How does it become relevant to me when I say this is about me? This whole story is about me. This whole story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, of someone coming out of Egypt, is about me today. I have to come out of Egypt today. What's my Egypt? My Egypt is that I'm also Tlat Gotlat. I'm also 3 within 3. Why am I 3 within 3? Because I'm always growing. So what I thought yesterday is not what I think today. So hopefully I'm growing every day. Every day I'm coming out of my gestation and being born and adding mind and growing and becoming something new. So who's Paro today? Who's Paro in my life? So the explanation in Kabbalah and Chassidut is very clear. Paro is the previous mindset that I had. Okay? That's who Paro is. He's not some demon. He's not some evil doer. He's not drinking my blood or anything like that. He's my previous mindset. My previous mindset, relative to what Hashem wants me to be now, is Paro. Why? So what does this previous mindset do? So really the story here, the way the Rizal says it in the background, this is all in the background. It's not saying it here, but it's all in the background because he's mentioning it from time to time. He's saying the katnus and godless. He keeps saying this. The story is that when a new mindset begins to come into me, a higher mindset, a more expanded consciousness is entering my mind, so the previous mindset has to go somewhere. So it's pushed down into the neck. That's the way it's described. That my mind is now filled with a new mindset, and the old mindset goes down into the neck.
I think we're stuffed here.
Yeah. What is that? So that's the Kabbalistic interpretation for every time you have a sore throat. Yeah. Every time you have a sore throat or something's wrong with your throat, the understanding is that you have a new mindset coming in, and the old mindset has to go somewhere. So it gets pushed down. That's the understanding. What does this mean? Then the person feels stuffed, that they feel sore, they feel this. There's a word for it in Hebrew. How do you say, I can't speak, my throat is sore? How do you say that in Hebrew? Nichar gorni. Nichar. Nun chet reish.
What's the short?
So there's many meanings. Nechirat is like to shecht something. Nchol. It's also people when you, snoring. Is also probably comes from the same root. In fact, in English, it's very similar. The nun reish is the same. Nun reish, the nichar. So it's a snore. But really, what is this word nichar guni? So the Rizal says 258. It's equal to 258. So it says it's equal to 3 times Shem Elokim. Elokim is Aleph Lamed He Yud Mem. It's 86. So 3 times 86 is 258. So he says, Ad kan charon af shel makom. What do you mean, Ad kan charon af shel makom? Until here, the katnus is. From now on, it says that until Avram was born, the world was in a limited state of consciousness. And when Avram was born in Haran, he went to Haran, and he left Haran for the land of Canaan, then a new mindset came in. It's expanded consciousness. Avram's a new way of looking at the world. So, ad kan charon af shel makom. Until here is the small-mindedness. Until here is mochin de katnut. Where's the mochin de katnut? In the Haran. So the Arizal gives another gematria. The Arizal doesn't care if things are exact. So he says garon, just to say garon. Throat is 259. For him it's the same thing. 258, 259, same thing. Doesn't matter. It's plus 1 is the same thing. There's a lot of reasons for it. Doesn't matter. So he says these are the mochin of katnut, the chabad of katnut, the small-mindedness that came down into the garon. That's what it feels. And so what's happening there? So when it's there, Paro can take advantage of it. Paro is like the mochin. He can live there. It's very nice for him to live there.
Well, you swallowed him, so to speak.
Yeah, you swallowed him.
Yeah.
So he's living there, and he's preventing the new mindset from entering the heart. He can't get into the heart. So he's sitting there, and he's taking all the sustenance. Okay. You have to escape him in some way.
You get rid of him.
Okay, but the main thing here was that not to look at this as some just historical story. Like the Zohar says, don't treat the Torah like it's a bunch of, it's not contradictory to history. These things happened, but we're not learning them as history. History we can learn from somewhere else. From the Torah, I want to learn how to conduct myself. So now that we have this, we understand what's going on here. That the Ratzon is really, this Ratzon that we're talking about, this will, this small will that doesn't have yet pleasure, is the will that Paro is taking from. That's where he's saying. It's just technical. It's like you want and you don't care. There's no caring in it. The desire has care in it because there's pleasure, because there's a purpose, like we said. But when there's no pleasure, when there's no purpose, there's no pleasure. So the will gives equally to everyone. So that's why he goes down into the throat, because that's where he can get it. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. I felt that we have to say something about this, not to leave it as just something that it sounds like there's bad guys and good guys. It's like a Western, and we're looking at it like from the side. No, this is something that happens to all of us all the time.
How much of this was inside and how much outside?
Most of it is inside. He
It
just
is
says it in
inside, okay.
pieces. He says it in bits and pieces. He also says it in other places.
Very profound.